tongue. Anyway, you can imagine the tenseness of the situation. Heavenly Relative had his tongue pulled out and the knife poised over it, ready to lay the blow. It was no joking matter. He was really going to do it. At that point his elder brother, unattached, said soothingly, "Second brother, what are you doing? How about telling me what you're up to?" Heavenly Relative said, "My offenses are too great. I've been continually slandering the great vehicle Buddha-Dharma. Now upon reading those 3 sutras, I know that the doctrines of the great vehicle are incomparably wonderful. My slander of the great vehicle is going to put me in the hell of pulling out tongues, is it not? So I will just cut out my own tongue right now while I am still alive. What do you think of this idea?" He asked his elder brother's advice.
Unattached replied, "Don't be so foolish. You can exchange your tongue." "What do you mean?" "How?" asked the distraught Heavenly Relative. "Before, you used your tongue to slander, now, you can use it to praise great vehicle sutras. All you have to do is change your way of talking. That's a much more positive way of going about it. There's no need to cut your tongue out." Hearing that, Heavenly Relative thought, he's right. If I cut out my tongue, of what use will that be to great vehicle Buddhism? I'll change and praise great vehicle Buddhism with it, instead.
As soon as he had that thought, Heavenly Relative's inherent wisdom manifested, and he then composed the Shastra on the door to understanding the 100 Dharmas. And so he was a person who changed his faults. He had courageous spirit and valiantly changed what was wrong with him. When he said he was going to change, he actually did it. And after that, all the books he wrote were in praise of the great vehicle. He destroyed all the books he had previously written, and the Shastras he wrote in praise of the great vehicle circulated all over the world. That is the story, in brief, of Vasubandhu. Bodhisattva is a Sanskrit word. Bodhi means enlightenment, sattva means sentient being, 2 meanings of Bodhisattva. 1. Enlightener of sentient beings. The Bodhisattva takes the enlightenment that he has testified to, the wisdom that he has opened, and uses that enlightened wisdom to enlighten all other beings who have sentience. 2. An enlightened sentient being. The Bodhisattva is also a sentient being, but he is one who has become enlightened.
Together, these 2 meanings show that a bodhisattva is an enlightened sentient being who enlightens other sentient beings. That is the meaning of bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is a pretty good name to have, and so lots of people want to give themselves that title. They want others to call them by that name. In China, monastics call each other bodhisattva, as a form of mutual praise. But bodhisattva is a title that should be bestowed upon one. It is not that people decide they deserve the title and then give themselves that name. On the other hand, there was great Master Tai Shu, who said, "All people should call me bodhisattva instead of bhikshu." Why? I received both the bhikshu and the bodhisattva precepts at full ordination, and so just as you call me a bhikshu, so should you call me bodhisattva. But, since I haven't yet become a Buddha, you shouldn't call me a Buddha.
Of course, he was just joking. In fact, great Master Tai Shu was a bodhisattva, and so whether or not anyone called him that made absolutely no difference. It is just for that reason he was able to joke about it. He was chiding when he said, "You should all call me bodhisattva." Similarly, the living Buddha of Gold Mountain announced that everyone should call him a living Buddha. Both those comments were made in the same spirit. But in this case, was it that Heavenly Relative, who composed this Shastra, signed his name, Heavenly Relative Bodhisattva? No. He just signed his name to the Shastra without adding any titles. Later on, devoted scholars, out of reverence for him, added that title to his name. It was not like PhDs of today who have that print that title on their calling cards and go about advertising their status. I often say to such people, with no malice intended, what's so great about a PhDs, anyway? You've got a PhD. So what?
The title itself has no intrinsic value. The point is that if you have what it takes, you do not need to praise yourself. It is better for others to do the praising. The same applies to monastics who add the title, Dharma Master, to their names when printing their cards or introducing themselves, because they like the sound of the title. But that title is not something one gives oneself. Therefore, I am sure that Heavenly Relative Bodhisattva did not add a title to his name. Everyone should look into this. Do not become infatuated with name and fame. It is better to call yourself a dead person or a corpse. Pick a name nobody else wants, and then no one will fight you for it. I believe that is a better solution. It is said, the superior person goes without a name. The inferior person is fond of titles. Decide for yourselves which type of person you want to be.